to get information from users. So let's put comments. Forms. So the form begins with the form tag. And the closing form tag. Then in between the form tag, you have tags for input to input elements. We have different kinds of input tags which we're going to look at. We'll first begin by putting a label that shows what each input represents. Have a label tag. Label. So the first input you are going to have is for the first name. So write first name. Just type first name. Okay, so we're going to have an input tag to display to get the first name. Input. Okay. So the input tab is there. Now the type of input is text. So inside here, I'll just type text. Then here on the name field, this name field is useful for the server-side programming. That is to target the particular input that you are passing. So here I'll just type first dash name as the name of the input. So let's save this and see what it looks like. So refresh, you will have to scroll down a little. So at the bottom here, we'll see our first name, and then here we can type in any value for the name. But it's too close to the table which we created earlier. So we're going to create a space in between using the BR tag. So here above the form tag, just type BR. BR stands for break, line break. Then we'll save. Then we'll refresh to see what we have. So you see there's a space between the table which we created earlier and the form field. But let's have a separator, like a line demarcating the page. So after the BR tag, we have another tag called HR. HR represents horizontal row. Okay. And after the HR tag, let's still have another line break for space. BR tag. So let's save and view the page. Okay, so there we have there's a horizontal row created by the HR tag, space here, space here. So this will be our first entry in our form for first name. Now let's have another entry for last name. So I'll come to the form. I'll just copy this and then paste it for last name. last name. Okay, now if I save and refresh, no, first of all, let me change this to last name. Last name. So this will be last dash name. On the other hand, let me change the naming style to last, then name capital N. This is called the Camel naming convention. There are two kinds of naming convention: Camel naming convention and Pascal naming convention. In the Camel naming convention, the first word, the first letter of the first word is a small letter. Then the first letter of the second word is capital letter. So here I'll have first, then name, while the other field is last name. Okay, let's save and see what we have. Okay, so we have two fields, one for first name and one for last name. Notice they are all lining up horizontally. This is because these are inline elements. They don't take the whole width of the web browser, just the size, just the portion that is okay, that is available, that is okay to contain their size. But if you want to, it's better to display it, the next field below the first field, that's the last name below the first name. So to do that, I'll surround the first name by a div, because div is block level element, and the last name by a div. So let's do that one. I have div, div, then after the first name impute, I'll have the closing div tag. Okay, so that's that. Then for the other one, we have div. Then after the last name, we'll have the closing div tag. Okay, so we have to indent this just to make the structure look okay. Okay, so let's save and view it on the browser. Okay, good. Now they appear stacked on top of each other. But it's nice to have a space in between these two. I can use the BR tag for that. So after the closing div of the first name impute, I'll just put the BR tag, then save. And then, so we have a space in between. Now back to the form tag. Now form has various attributes. One of them is the action, and the other one is the method. The action indicates where the form data is being submitted to. In most cases, it's submitted to a server-side script like PHP that processes the information. So in this case, let's put our action equal, I'll just call it a process.php. So this form is supposed to be submitted to a file called process.php. so that the information from the form will be extracted and then processed. Now, another attribute of the form is the method. So method indicates how the information is going to be submitted. And there are different methods. We have the post, we have the get, we have the put, and so on and so forth. The most common ones used are the post and the get. But out of these two, the post, you type post like this, either post or the get method, get. But out of these methods, the most secure is the post. Get is not too secure because it shows the information being displayed on the browser, but post is more secure than get. So save. Now we're going to put other inputs. We have the first name, last name. We'll have another field for the email. So let's just copy this div and paste and modify. So in the label, I'll type email. Email. Then input type. Now input type can be text. You enter the email as text, but HTML5 introduce a new type called email. So you can have the type email. This type email enables error checking when submitting the form. So it has an advantage over just typing plain text. That's for email fields. Okay. Then name, I'll just put here email. So this name is for the server-side programming language, for it to identify the input field and then extract the necessary information. That's for the email. Then we have another field called text areas for displaying large chunk of text. Take for example, if you are explaining, describing something or explaining something or telling a story, you put that in the text area. So let's just copy this email field and paste and then modify. So here I'll just call this message. Then the input, we remove the input type, replace with text area. Text area. Text area. Then I'll just call it name message. Okay, let's save and view it in the browser. These are text areas, so we can type text there. Now, the next field you're going to look at is the selector. We're going to look at the selector field. So copy this and paste one more time. So remove the text area. Then change the label to the selector field is to select from a number of choices or options. Take, for example, you are filling a form and you have to indicate whether you are a male or female, or you are putting in your country and a list of countries will be displayed and you just select from this list of countries. Or anytime, any situation where you have a list of items and you have to select from this list of items. So use selector tag. Selector tag, just type select, and enter. So give the selector a name. We'll just call it, this case, gender. So name is gender. Okay. Then the items you are selecting is going to be in the options tab. So you have option, end option. Then these options, we have values. Like here, give it a value of the first one, give it a value of, let's call this male. Then the value does not show in your browser. What will show is what you type between the opening and closing tag of the option. So here, let's type male. So that's what we show. So we have two more options. We'll just copy this and paste 2 times. Okay. So the second one, the value is female. I want to show is female. And then the last one, the value is other. That's if you are not male or female. I want to show is what you put here. That's order. So let's save this and see what it looks like on the browser. Okay, so these are our options. Click on the arrow here. It brings out the options. You can either take male, female, or other. But we have to change the words on the label. It says message here. This should be gender. Gender. Okay, let's save and view again. Okay, so it's now gender. Click on this arrow. It brings out the list of options which we can select from. So remember for the select tag, we have the opening select tag, the closing select tag. And in between we have the options. Opening option, closing option, opening option, closing option. Inside the opening option, you have the value. That is what the server will, this for the server, what the server will pick. Then between the opening and closing option tag, you have what to display on your web page. Okay, another tab we're going to look at is the number tag. So we're going to copy. Let's copy this and paste. The number tag we're going to use for age. So here the label will just type age. Then remove this text area and place an input tag. Input. But the type is not going to be text, it's going to be number. So this restricts the user. The user can only enter number into the field here. The name, we call it age. Okay. So let's save and see what's on the browser. Yeah, good. So this is so if you fill in text, it can't take text. But if you put number, you can type a number here. Sometimes you may want to give it, put a value here for that to be first of all displayed, which can be changed. Then that are part of the attribute. So after the name attribute, just type value. Then let's say 30. So that's the first thing that will show. If someone is above 30, you change it. Below 30, change it. But the default value shows 30. So let's refresh and see. So it says 30 here. If it's above 30, you can just click this up arrow to increase and the down arrow below here to decrease. That's for the number input. The other kind of input called the dates. So just copy this and paste it once more. You copy and then paste. Okay, this one we'll call let's call it birthday. Birthday. Now this type, now this will be type, input type, this dates. Dates. Then I remove this value here. And the name will be birthday. So let's save and view it on the browser. Good. So this is how it displays. If you click on it, you can change, put a date you want. The format is here, day, month, day, year. Click on this icon here. It brings up a calendar. They can select a date. You can use this to change, click that to select a month. Let's say March. Then here you can select a day, say 11. So here it says 03/11/2024. Now another input type for the form is a button to submit after filling all your information, you have to submit. So this input type is the submit type. So you have input type will be submit. And name, the name I'll give it will be submit. You have to also give it a value. The value is what will show on the button. Value submit. So this button, if you click it, the information on the form will be submitted to the what you put as your action, which is process.php. So let's save and then view our form. So you see that's our button, the submit button. So if you click it, now if you want to take it to the process.php, but that page does not exist. So let's click it and see what will happen. So click and say your file could not be accessed because the page process.php does not exist. That's why it's showing this one. So go back. Good. So basically, these are most of the elements you work with when working with forms. You can also have buttons outside your form, outside the form field, which is not as shared with the form. But when you click it, it's meant to do certain things, either to show certain things or process certain information or maybe direct it to a different page. So that's one. The tag is just a button tag. Let's put that under the form field. So we have the button, close button. So let's just call it click me. Okay, so let's save and then view what's on the browser. So that's it, said click me. So you click it, it doesn't do anything. Let's create a space between these two. So after the form, I'll put the BR tag. And Control S to save. So there's separation between the two forms. So click it doesn't do anything. So HTML is not doesn't process information, just displays information on the web page. But to process information, you need to use JavaScript or combine it with PHP. JavaScript, you are going to look at much later on. Okay, but if you're using JavaScript, or you have to put an attribute there, probably click and then let it point to a JavaScript which processes the information.